When The Time Machine in 2002 came out, I saw it in the theater and I did not care for it. I didn't like the changes that were made to H.G. Wells' story. I didn't like the Uber Morlock, and I certainly didn't like, well, the way they changed the racial makeup of people in the future felt really activist even then. But also, it took away one of H.G. Wells' main themes, is that you kind of fall in love with a presumed sense of beauty of these people to find out that they're just cattle. You lost that in the transition. His commentary then on contemporary society and its predilections that we do see reflected in the film about conformity and bowler hats, nevertheless is taken away from the future post-apocalyptic destiny. Now that I've gotten older and have fallen in love with this movie, I think the only thing they really should have done different, we see with the hologram, gives them different examples of science fiction. We should have had more examples of those other franchises included in the story and changed the title, changed some more of the details in this film and made it more of an homage generally to time travel and classic time travel franchises. That would have negated some of the impact of it not being like H.G. Wells while still telling your own story. These days, we have a ton of movies and shows that say we're remaking it to tell our own story, and it stinks. Getting past the fact that it's not H.G. Wells, 2002, The Time Machine ends up telling a really great story. Yes, it is like two different stories. We have to see him build the time machine because of his love. He hurries to get it done. We have to see him try to change the past. We have to have this separate story because it gives us an explanation for why he's so passionate to find out about this. How can I change the past? Why can't I change the past? Going further into the future, learning things about our history along the way until he arrives there. The Uber Morlock is sort of necessary by then. We need someone that can speak for them and fill in the blanks of what we need to know about their story. The whole science fiction adventure thing it turns into then makes sense. What he's done is he's built the time machine. This man from our past traveled into his own past and can't change it. And along the way to our time and past it, he learns the things that we have done wrong or sees the world fall apart, ultimately learning that he cannot go back and change the past. The real message of this version is you can change the future with what you know about the past. Of course, it's one of the oldest lines in the book. Those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. We seem to repeat it anyway, and yet it really gives us a story about a man from the past who learns about the future. He goes back there to live the rest of his life. As a man of science, a man who dreams about the future, having seen the future, how could he ever go back to where he was? Knowing what was going to be between there and the future, knowing that everything he did ended up in the inevitable destruction of those things in between. It only makes sense that ultimately reaching acceptance with the loss of Emma means that he goes to the distant future, has that life, that relationship, and can help humans there build their future, which is what this man of science wanted to do all along. He finds a way to do it, even in a universe where he's learned all of these things that make it impossible for him to do it back where he came from. He can then do it in the future. And it leaves us then with that glimmer of optimism and hope that no matter what mess we make of the world, there is always the future. And if we learn from it and apply it forward correctly, maybe we can make something at least a little bit better.